Great to have you back. Ali Younes is with us. He is a American journalist, covers the Middle East, and he's written extensively on the Middle East and on the Lebanon situation. Ali can be reached on Twitter at Ali, A-L-I, _reports, Ali _reports. Ali, good to have you with us, man. It's been a while.
Thank you, John. Glad to be back. Yes, it has.
I know, too long. Give us an update on Beirut now. We've had the prime minister resigning. We've had the person that was in charge of the port area where the explosion happened arrested. Some people say that the Israeli intel was perhaps behind it. Where are we now?
Well, as of yesterday, the prime minister has tendered his resignation, the entire cabinet. Now the cabinet of the prime minister, Hassan Diab, is in a caretaker position. But the reason stated by the prime minister and his ministers that there was a lot of corruption in Lebanon. As you know, Lebanon is a confessional. It's a very sectarian political system. Each group vies for power, and it is a division of power among the Christians and Muslims, and with all their branches. The Christians have branches, and the Muslims have branches. So this explosion that happened last Tuesday, and of all the documents that I've looked at, the pictures emerged from the documents that it was a total failure of government to take note of a major ship carrying 2,750 tons of ammonium nitrate, a highly explosive material that docked at Beirut port, and it was unloaded because the ship had very major mechanical issues. So in 5 years, since 2013, or 8 years, since 7 years since 2013, the state, exchanged many letters and correspondence between its various organs, various bureaucrats, talking among themselves about the ship, about the cargo, who's going to take charge of what happened to it. Until last Tuesday, the whole shipment exploded, destroying the entire port and destroying many neighborhoods of Beirut. So that's the latest on that. And, of course, investigation followed. Many officials detained 20. I spoke to the Minister of Defense, who's a deputy prime minister as well. She told me that as many as 20 people were investigated or detained, among them the head of customs of Beirut, who I spoke to him on the first day of the explosion, and he attributed to corruption. So corruption is endemic in Lebanon, as you know, many people know, and that's the cause of this tragic accident. As far as what you mentioned, the Israeli intelligence, I think this was just a rumor. It's untrue. Israeli denied it, and it doesn't look like it was an Israeli operation of any sort that would cause the explosion of this ammonium nitrate. I mean, this is a highly explosive material. All what required is a detonator or a fire or a high heat for it to explode in such manner.
So these 20 people, 19 people, Ali Younes, that were arrested, what charges were they arrested on?
There are no charges at this point. They are being investigated because I think they've been investigated because of the failure to take action. And with all the documents that I've looked at so many documents in the past week, as early as today, none of these documents show that somebody took action, legal action. So the document passed on to the judges, the intelligence, the security at the port, the customs of the port, and even the documents that Reuters reported yesterday and reported by CNN, and I am included in that reporting, that the president and the prime minister were notified as early as July 20th. And the presidency of Lebanon just issued a statement today saying, we received on July 20th a report of this shipment of cargo at Beirut airport, and we referred to the other agencies. So, I mean, you could see that no one really took action. Even the president did not take proper action, removing it or giving a directive to remove that, or the prime minister. So the questions remain, why nobody took action? Why this bureaucratic, mundane, futile letter exchanging, and no one took action until it exploded?
We're with Ali Younes. Ali is an American journalist. He covers the Middle East. He's been on the Beirut, Lebanon explosion situation. He has written extensively for many journals out there. You can follow Ali on Twitter. Go to Ali, ALI _ reports. Ali, let me just ask you this. How long were these explosives there?
Since 2013. So the ship,
7
the
years.
original ship.
So the ship came in. The ship came in. It had all these explosives on it. Where was the ship from?
Yeah, it came from Georgia. The point of origin to Georgia, going to Mozambique in Africa. So on its way to Mozambique on the Mediterranean, it docked at Beirut port.
Because it had mechanical issues.
Yes, and that was the official claim. There was a mechanical issue. So the Lebanese authorities, seized the ship, and the ship sank, and they unloaded the material into the port, in one of the hangar at the port, and it sat there for 7 years, waiting to explode the way it exploded.
So
today.
it sat there
But
for
the ship
7
was doing-
years. They knew it was there. I mean,
They
obviously,
knew it was dangerous, too.
other governments knew it was there, et cetera, right? I mean, this was no secret. This is why some people thought Israeli intel, might have caused the explosion because they knew it was there. Now that conspiracy seems to have ebbed. I heard that beginning. I haven't heard that recently. It sat there for 7 years, and what you're saying in your investigation, Ali, is that it was just bureaucratic malaise. Like they didn't do anything. I mean, how many governments have they had there in Lebanon? How many governments have they had there in that period of time? Different governments. 3?
Since 2013, at least 3 governments.
Right. So they had 3 governments, all of them too incompetent to figure out what to do with these explosives.
That's exactly right. And so I'm not discounting any other, possible,
Of course.
reasons for the explosion. But what I could say that all the documents that I looked at, all these government documents, that, nobody took direct action. They all referred to each other. And but it was obvious they could have taken, some action to remove it or resell it. And the Lebanese army was asked to do something with it, and the Lebanese army declined to do anything with it. And he said, maybe you could sell it, re-export it back to the country of origin. So it's a total failure of government, and that's why the people of Beirut, took to the streets angrily, and the government resigned as a result.
So
however, I should point out.
Go ahead,
I should point out that I spoke to the deputy prime minister, the minister of defense, last night.
Yes.
And she told me that in defense of her government, only 5 months old, it had zero corruption. It was the only uncorrupt government, in the history of Lebanon since 1990 or since the end of the Civil War. Perhaps that was she saying that to me. So I'm not sure about that. That's up to the Lebanese people to decide. But that was her statement to me about her government and why her government resigned.
John Fredericks Radio Network, Trucking the Truth Across America. We're with Ali Younes. Ali is a Middle Eastern American journalist, covers Lebanon and other areas of the Middle East. You can follow him, Ali _ reports. So, Ali, it looks like, from what you said, just gross incompetence. The protesters last night and the last 2 days in Beirut, what do they want? Do they have demands?
Yes, they do. They want the end of the massive corruption of their state. They want the end of the sectarian system, because the sectarian system divides the country or treats the country as a pizza. Each group wants a slice of that pizza at the expense of other group. So they want a proper democratic system, or a system of government where I, as a citizen, I am a citizen, not a member of a tribe or religious group or ethnic or sectarian group. And the first step of their demands was to have the government resign. And I think today and the days to come, we will see that they want the parliament to be dissolved and have a proper election where people will stand for their own record, not as part of this ethnic or sectarian group. But that remains to be seen, because the Lebanese political system is so entrenched since the 1940s, since 1943, when it became independent from France. France occupied it after World War II. And I think if France, created that system to please, certain groups of that country at the time. So I think the Lebanese people have matured enough, and they see the world. The world, has evolved since 1940s or post-World War II. So they want a proper democratic system, a proper government that is an accountable and transparent government.
What impact does this have on Hezbollah in Lebanon? Will they grow stronger? Will they grow weaker? And why?
I think Yeah, I think it has a great impact on Hezbollah because the head of Hezbollah, Mr. Hassan Nasrallah, spoke a few days ago, and he said, we have nothing to do with this. We have no control over Beirut port or the airport for that matter, as a Shia group. That's what essentially he was saying. But I think the idea of accountability, the idea of demonstration, and cause the government to resign to topple the government has a great impact on Hezbollah, because Hezbollah now will take notice and say, now we better be careful of how we treat the Lebanese people or how we treat the government, for that matter, because Hezbollah is part of the government in Beirut.
Right.
He has some ministers in Beirut.
Will their
So,
influence,
I think
if there's new elections, how will they fare?
I think Hezbollah, as representative of the Shia group, along with the Amal group, I think they will fare very well because he has his own base. They have their own base that would elect him up to the parliament and propel them to be a powerful group within the Lebanese political system, like any other groups. And that's a sad situation in Lebanon today because each group has its own base. Either the Christian, the Orthodox, the Catholics, the Maronites, and the Shia, the Sunnis. It's a dazzling number of groups, 18 religious groups in Lebanon, vying for power in Lebanon. And like I said, Lebanon is more or less, as my analysis is, it's just like a big pizza, and everybody wants a slice of that pizza.
Violence in Beirut, explosions, deaths, violence has been going on since, I don't know, I'm 62 years old, since I'm like 5. I mean, it just never seems to stop. When this first happened, look, it was hard for people to believe that, okay, there was just this massive explosion, 158 people killed, 6,000 injured, houses destroyed. I mean, people heard this, as you say, all the way to Paris. I mean, it was unbelievable, this blast. So, everybody's immediate reaction was, okay, somebody had to be behind this. But now, I think as more evidence comes out, I think you nailed it. And I know you're not making a judgment, you're just giving the facts. But what you're saying is, the facts just lead to complete and utter incompetence. Like, eventually this thing was going to blow, and nobody did anything about it through 3 governments. Exactly. I mean, think about this.
You're exactly right, John.
3 governments in Lebanon, 3 different regimes of governments, all of them coming in. At some point, they were briefed. They have this cachet of highly explosive material in their port that could blow, fire, excessive heat, anything, spark, who knows? Exactly. And nobody does anything about it.
And you're right. I mean, the documents, the official documents, I looked at, and everybody looking at it now,
right,
says there's excessive heat, could detonate. This is a highly explosive, highly dangerous material. It could blow up the port of Beirut, and it could cause extensive damage throughout Beirut. And it happened. Exactly what the documents have said, but no one took action.
Unbelievable. Ali, great reporting. Excellent. Thank you. Thank you for that insight. We're going to have you back. Ali Younes, you can follow Ali, ALI_reports on Twitter. I'm going to do that right now, Ali, as soon as we get off the air. Thanks for being with us. Thanks for that update, man. Thank you. Outstanding work.